Hey y'all.
Can you guys switch off the cameras? I have some points to make.
They call me childish. They call me the Holy Ghost, son of the Most, Father, they don't know me.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tash, aka ZIMbarbieAN, and this is a safe space on the internet where we like to converse about different topics. I'm going to start with introductions. So if you can introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm TJ. I'm a chef.
All right, and yourself?
Dennis.
Okay, and yourself?
I'm Arnold.
Okay, and yourself?
My name is Miranda, Tasha's personal assistant.
Is that who you are? I love
Why
I think I'm gonna try and look at the trajectory of how introductions have changed.
It's evolving.
Anyway,
I'm applying.
so the topic for today is hookup culture. I'm actually gonna start with Arnold and ask you, what is your definition of hookup culture, or what do you understand hookup culture to be?
Hookup culture. Hookup culture, isn't it? I go out and I meet someone and we hook up.
Defined.
I meet someone, we hook up, and yeah, we hook up.
Oh, take your chance, bro. What do you want me to say? Well, what happens when you go home? What is it? What is it? Say it with your chest, bro. It's okay. It's a safe space, though.
Oh, okay.
You go home. You go home.
I think, okay, it's inexperience. Dennis, what's hookup culture?
Isn't it like apparently that's how you get the inexperienced tag, right? Now you're trying to frame me as the guy who's experienced in hookup. No, but I mean, really and truly, that's what it is, right? It's like the sexual liberalized part of our society that believes that if you really just want to go and hook up with someone, it could just be that, and life goes on, as opposed to where we thought that it's supposed to lead to something, or when, yeah.
I hear that. Do you guys agree?
Agreed.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the streets.
It's literally.
Literally.
So, my understanding of it is pretty much the same. When you hook up, and also I think it's a deviation from what traditionally dating was, or courting was. The fact that you don't have to be in a steady relationship or going towards a steady relationship to have hookup relations.
Yeah.
And so, my first question from that, because, I think that's the trajectory that we've been with so many waves and movements happening, that people are no longer in that traditional mindset of dating. It's I can just hook up, right? And so my first question would be, do you think that hookup culture is empowering? So I would say maybe, female empowerment. Well, actually, no, I think in general, because even traditionally, courting, from my perspective, it was the man has to court in order to get sex, unless you're going to a brothel or something.
Right.
So even for the men, I think I'll start with you, TJ. Do you think that hookup culture is empowering for men?
I would say yes. I would just say broadly empowering. And the reason why is that it gives you choice, right? So you're not necessarily forced into, if you're going to court someone or talk to someone, getting married tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Right? Like you kind of are able to go through the stages. And also, if you yourself personally are not in the mindset or in the frame of mind where it's I actually want to be with someone, right? But you got needs, right? You want to do what you do.
What do you mean? Say it with your chest.
You want to have sex, okay? Right? You want to have sex, right? Wow. Sorry, mama.
Your son's got needs.
Yeah. Ooh, I was about to say something wild. Yes. I think it empowers you in that way, right? There's not necessarily then immediately pressure because I then now have to be with you and whatever. Worse still, if you don't know, which I think is where the the main thing is, right? Because they have, or at least I've been in situations where either I have felt pressure or someone's felt pressure. You don't really want to be with that person, but because that's the norm, you then end up kind of like dragging out what.
And going into relationship where otherwise
Yeah.
Do you think it's empowering, like hookup culture, from like a female perspective?
So before I answer that, right, as he's talking, I'm just thinking, do men do hookup culture or you've always been?
That's a valid point.
Right? Because men still go get sex and then just ghost and whatever, right? I think it's empowering for women because now we've recently also decided, you know what, we can do it and not have to expect a call or whatever, you know. Yeah, that's my take. Yeah.
Like, okay. No, it's okay. Let's move on. Because, let's not move on because it's not fair for me to ask your opinions and to dilute my own. So from my perspective, I think that it does the opposite. I think that it's been good PR in terms of do this and it's empowering to you, but like in the long term, the repercussions, particularly from women and the expectations, say like if you're someone who wants relationship and the expectations that are put on you as like what the basis is as a valuable woman within relationship, etc. If you've participated in hookup culture, particularly to the utmost, then in the long run, it's like you're diminishing your value. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that we've addressed one part of like the liberation movement without addressing the other part of what it then means to go into relationships. So right now, I don't think it's empowering.
So when I look at it, right, also you talked about the extreme of someone going deep in there, right, in the streets, right? Mm-hmm. But when I look at it, let's say, for example, I'm single and I'm not seeing anyone, right? And then I choose, okay, I go out, I want to hook up, right? Should I be thinking, no, I can't do that because of culture, what? Because I think women always used to have that side of them, right? But they couldn't express it because of culture and stuff. So this hookup culture allowed us to say, you know what? I can wake up one morning and decide, I'm not going to do it every day, but I can wake up and say, you know what? Today is the day for it, you know, type of thing. And that's almost empowering in a sense.
But do you like the process of doing that, right? Like there's idea of you feeling empowered, right? But like, is the actual like benefit from it, like, which is what like concerns me, and I think also the context of having this conversation at this age, I think our views of it are a lot different than they would have been when we were in our early 20s, for example. Yeah. Because I agree with Tash. I don't think there's like the idea of it being empowering. Like, I can understand, like, this is a bad habit that I have, that I continue to participate in.
That I need to curb.
But to say that it's empowering. I think is a cop-out for what it actually is, which is pretty toxic thing.
What's toxic about it?
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if this is the part of the conversation where I would have gone into this deep dive, right?
Right.
But I'm actually a big believer in enforced monogamy. And that's...
Forced monogamy.
Yeah. Like enforced monogamy, right?
That's you.
Are you saying false or forced?
Enforced.
Oh, enforced, right? Like,
enforced.
yeah, like
okay.
like a society where it's heavily encouraged for people to be monogamous.
Okay.
I think in the long term, the benefits of that, the benefits of not having the comparisons, the benefits of, you know, the health implications of it, I think overally you're probably better off doing that than you are participating in hookup culture.
So I've got a question, right? And it comes back now to defining then hookup culture, right? Because in terms of, and I suppose maybe I'm trying to defend what I'm saying, right? Because also in saying it, like similar to what Miri was saying, is that you have the choice, right? So you're not necessarily forced to say
use it.
Exactly, right? Like you don't have to. It's not saying that every time that you go out, you're meeting someone random and you can have sex with them, right? And even if you do like someone, it's not then saying that you're gonna wake up or like then go home with them that night or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not then frowned upon to do that and say, actually, you know what? I don't want to do that.
Want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I hear that, but then I think it would also go back to like what Dennis was saying in terms of like enforced monogamy and like the things that are celebrated and encouraged within a society are more or less what majority of people are going to go towards. So for example, I definitely encourage the choice to be able to participate in hookup. I think everyone should have a choice to do, you know, most things. But I think that if... But I
know,
think
man.
that I think that the drive right now, from my perspective, is like because we're going into like a very black or white perspective, where it's like you can't be a monogamist and also be supportive of hookup culture, and like it's very weird. But also, I think that when we're driving people to be like, no, hookup culture is great, let's all do that, you then end up having a lot more people participating in it that wouldn't have otherwise. It's not necessarily like a lack of choice thing, but like I think you can't discount how what's it called, influence plays a part in like your decision making.
That you can't. But like, isn't like most things in life? Because I'm thinking of it from the perspective where I'm monogamous in my hooking up, right? So I will have one hookup person. Do you consider that hookup culture?
Yeah. Well, that's between you and the other person, because they might be open.
Because that's open relationships as well. Coming into hookup culture, right? As well. So it's open relationships. You seeing one person in a period, but you're hooking up and not dating. Yeah. And then there's also like you just naturally being in the streets and randomly picking people, right? That defines hookup culture, right?
We need to bring shaming people back a little bit. No, hear me out.
Go ahead, sir.
It's like, let me cook. Let me
Here's the thing about like encouraging hookup culture, and like I get it. We're in this like space now where the overall vibe is like let people do what they want to do, right?
Yeah.
But there are also things that are objectively bad for you. Do you know what I mean? And I think you should be shamed for doing the things that are objectively bad for you.
Like what, Dennis?
Like doing drugs. like doing drugs, for example, right? Like we should objectively shame you for doing crystal meth. It's your decision. It affects no one, but we should object. And I think it's the same with hookup culture. I think there needs to be a line where we're like...
Are you equating crystal meth to
hooking up?
Yes.
What's an example of like, you know, something that would objectively hurt you in hookup culture?
Okay, you could get pregnant
First of
by the
all,
guy that you just met
that's
in the
so
club.
bad.
You could get sick.
Yeah.
Right? You could catch feelings.
Some
like
people
there's so many like bad things that could happen to you in the process of doing it. Like
who hurt you, bro? Who hurt you? What's wrong?
I think there are a lot of bad things that can happen, but then for some reason they've become like societally acceptable bad things. Yeah. So I think like it's kind of on. Oh, this is a tricky take. I think like it's kind of on par with like, you know, there's certain sins in the Bible. Everything is a sin, right?
Yeah.
But then we've decided as society that certain sins are better than other sins, or we accept certain sins better.
Yeah.
I think that that's the same with hookup culture and other things that are bad for you. Like we've just decided to normalize a little bit of promiscuity here and there, you know, a little bit of like, you know, what's a little AIDS, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've decided to normalize a lot of things in a way that I don't think is beneficial to us.
I have a question for all of you, right? With your heads bad.
with your heads
Does
bad.
this mean you're on a no sex before marriage drive?
See now.
Absolutely.
Sir.
This guy's been quiet for how long? All of a sudden he's got strong opinion.
Sir.
Get out.
Why are you lying?
But let's step away from whether this is what we do or not.
Okay.
And like let's talk about what's
you
right
don't
or wrong.
answer that. No sex before marriage, right?
I could answer that.
Tell us.
However, I don't think it's pertinent to this specific conversation that we're having. The actual like. See, now I forgot what I was.
So you can answer the first question.
What was the first question?
Wait, yeah.
Which one?
Are you
saying sex before marriage?
Oh yeah, so I was saying, right? The things that are like objectively bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And whether or not everyone who's here is participating or not, right? You can also still be like assuming that I don't. I do think like it would have been beneficial to be celibate until I got married.
Yeah.
I think it would have been good for the actual marriage.
In what way?
I do. I think not having comparisons for starters. Like this is it, right? Like there's no is this good or not, bro. This is all I know.
But then doesn't that increase curiosity
go,
within
yeah.
marriage?
Bro, people need more discipline. I'm telling you, we need to shame people.
So discipline-
Be curious. Be curious, bro.
Bro, who
It's outside
would
of celibacy,
No,
right?
so you guys are saying, it builds curiosity.
So are
meaning
you
that people
celibate?
stop
Are you
cheating,
celibate right now?
Yes.
Yeah, 100% I am. But like, no, I am. But like, wait,
By
what's that?
choice? Whose choice?
There's a community that I'm a part of.
There's
Oh, jeez. Okay, yeah. Okay. So, I'll just move on to my next. So, research shows that the group that, research shows that there's a minority that dictates the rules of dating. So, for example, when it comes to men, it's like the tall, successful men who are the minority, and they dictate what the rules are for dating because they are the ones that are in demand from like the female gaze.
Right.
That's my perspective, and there's also research to support that.
Right.
Do your own Googling in your own time. And so my question now is that, so whilst men may be said to have caused hookup culture because of that, could it be said that women are kind of enabling it by complying to that standard? Because actually a better question to ask would be, what would you say to the statement that men control relationship and women control sex? I'll start with you, Arnold.
I believe that completely. Because who says yes to sex, for example? It's usually the women.
Ideally everyone, but yeah.
No, who says yes to the when sex happens? Who allows it to happen?
Yeah.
It's the woman. That's why the women are being penetrated.
Yeah.
Like, to use a very
That's
raw
very
term.
raw.
You're allowing someone in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the relationship only then happens when a man asks you, like, I really want to be in a relationship, which means that the aspect of relationship starts from a man, and the aspect of sex happens. That's why rape even happens most towards women, and yeah, so women do control relationship for the most part, but when relationship happens, not control relationship entirely, but when relationship happens, it's usually the men, and women control sex pretty much. That's why a lot of times, even in marriages, the complaint is she started saying,
Like withholding sex.
yeah,
Daddy.
she started using sex as a weapon.
Yeah.
Type vibe. So
Preach,
I
Pastor,
believe that.
preach.
Do you agree with that, Miri?
I do agree with that. I think women control the sex element of things. The term blue balls came from that. But, and men control relationships. That's why, like, women have to often, like, oh, he ghosted me. I don't know where this is going. What does he think about me? Oh, I had sex with him. I allowed him in, like he was saying. But, like, he hasn't responded since and stuff. Like, I feel like relationships are in men's control.
Network
I mean, no, but I mean, like, even before any of that, right? Like, even initiating that conversation is usually left up to the guy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, he looks cute, but I'm going to stand here and look cute and make eye contact. But I'm not going to go over and be like, hey, how's it going? How are you?
Yeah.
Right? And then similarly, we've now had the conversation. Getting there, it's still not my choice to then actually have intercourse, right?
So then the question becomes, has society and like women in particular accepted hookup culture because men want sex but don't want commitment in relationship, and we want the male gaze? Do you get what I'm saying?
In a
like,
sense, I get that.
because they're in charge of relationship, and like there's been, from my perspective, a lot of men saying, I don't need to be in a relationship, what not. And then you want to be the girl that's like, no, I don't give you any pressure. Let's just hook up, you know what I mean? And then like as a society, we're kind of like forwarding this hookup culture because the people in control of relationship have decided, well, I'm not really trying to get a relationship.
I'm not ready.
Because that's my perspective. I don't know. Dennis, does it make sense?
It's Arnold for him.
Say something.
I mean, I understand the dynamic. Also, I suppose even further down the line, it's also you're the one who's going to propose, right? So ultimately you decide when
That will happen.
that form of the relationship starts. Even, asking someone to be your girlfriend is usually like on you. So, I mean, yeah.
So is hookup culture not empowering?
There you go.
I think it's not, because from my perspective, it's a reaction. So it's like, well, men don't want to be in relationships, so I'm just going to go and do what it is that they want to do. And then kind of abdicate control. This is such a hot take.
Yeah.
What's hot about it?
No. I don't really just instigating quiet, right? It's like, so.
Okay, here's my thing. If we are gonna openly say and accept that women control sex and men control relationship, we can't then discount the fact that if you are subscribing to hookup culture and kind of, being influenced towards that direction, you're abdicating some kind of power in the domain that you control.
Let's
So
draw.
there's also
No, hold on.
we also need to question what people are trying to get, right? So
All right.
I mean, I do think that there are women that just want that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's so necessarily pandering to what men want. You could possibly just want that, but it's toxic. It's the
And I
point
was
that I'm
about to
making.
come to that, right?
Toxic.
What you're saying, let's draw a map. So women control sex, men control relationships, right?
Right.
But women have needs at the end of the day
True.
too,
There
right?
you go, guys. Need that important.
I think when we use the word control, it's an extreme word.
Okay.
Is it?
gives the wrong idea of what it is,
Yeah.
right? Because these are it's a relationship,
Yeah.
like it's a give and take,
Yeah.
right? So when you say control, you make it kind of sounds very negative when you place it in that context.
Okay.
It's
Whilst we wait for a word
yeah.
to replace control,
Yeah.
right? I was saying then, so what it means is that, like what Dennis is saying, not everyone is out looking for a relationship. Women have phases. You're like, you're super, I'm in a phase of, I'm just doing girl me, like you go into phases, right? You're in a phase of looking for a relationship, phase of looking for just hookups and whatever, right? And I feel like it's important that we are allowed to participate in our phases.
Without
right?
judgment.
Without judgment. So I can be in my whole phase, right? And it should be okay for people not to judge me for that.
Can
I
we
think
actually
all-
talk about the whole thing? What do you mean the whole thing?
We can talk about that, but I think people should absolutely be judged for their whole face. I don't mean just women, and I think that's where the conversation
Yeah.
gets lost.
Yeah.
It's because now it's like, you're trying to be... No. All hoes should be judged.
We're all hoes
Why
equally.
stop behaving like that?
What? Who said that?
I was about to jump in right. Let's go.
Hear me.
Wait, so I wonder, is there a category of men to whom hookup culture is actually like a disadvantage to them? So for example, the man who is not the tall, successful, traditionally handsome guy who then just get lumped into all men are trash, even though like you're short and fat, someone might
But you're so laughing.
No.
And it's like, stop
Oh,
being
no.
more
Like
diverse than the short, chubby guys. Come
like
on.
you're catching strays.
All the time.
So, I don't know.
No, but like for real, is there like
No, they're massive disadvantages, right?
Right.
Like, so the dating economy, outside of a few other variables, is essentially dictated by women's beauty and men's success, right? Yeah, your looks also matter, obviously, and
So that's the currency.
so that's the currency that everyone's holding. So the people who have the most in that setting are going to get the most out of a particular system, right? So the guy that we're talking about here in hookup culture, which is something that's predominantly happening in night establishments, right? It definitely favors the guy who can cook in the club. You know what I mean? Like that guy's going to sparkle, Gigi. But that guy's definitely going to be the one who's going to benefit from that more than everyone else. Right? In the same way that the more attractive woman is going to benefit from that setting more than the less attractive one.
So, but
Personally, go coach.
So two things. First thing is that hookup culture also exists outside of clubs, though, right?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily saying that, like, still while
Tinder.
yeah, right.
True. which comes into it as well.
Yeah.
The ability to just swipe left and right and like hook up with anybody.
Yeah,
the
right.
ease of access.
Doing that, right? So like the currency, yes, is still the same, but one, it exists outside of that. Two, I think, we're saying that the person who loses out is the short, chubby guy. Shout out my big boys. It's not necessarily that person, right? The lover boys, right? Like the ones who are generally like, I actually just want to be in a relationship is what I want. Also, they
and then you
suffer
go
from
on
that.
Twitter and Shadai is calling you a simp.
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
right?
Like,
But you're really just like, I want to be in love with my girl. I want to give her the world. You then also suffer from that because, again, you're being bundled into men are trash. This is the only thing that you want.
Yeah.
Right.
part of a
So
community.
I get that the currency in the club is like looks and success, right?
Right.
How do you judge that on digital platforms?
Filters, though.
Yeah.
How are you curating
And
that
like a little bit of
How do you judge
scamming.
But you need
A
to
car,
realize
Ferrari
that.
behind.
And to take a swimming.
Curate the image. So there was a point where you asked what are the bad things that can come from hookup culture.
Yeah.
And Dennis listed a lot of things, one of which was you could catch feelings.
Yeah.
And my next question is, what do you think has influenced people looking at catching feelings like a weakness? Not only amongst men, but also amongst women. Well, more so amongst women now, I think, because it's like you don't want to be seen as the clingy woman or the person that's trying to pursue someone into a relationship that they don't want. I'm not going to catch feelings. Why is it that people are now looking at catching feelings as a negative? You can start.
So I kept thinking, I'm going back to my map. Control relationships, men, right? So like in a sense, it's that thing of because they're in control of how the relationship goes and okay, so we've hooked up, you might call me and tell me you like me, so let's pursue this further, right? Or we hook up and you're gone, you've ghosted, right? So it's that whole, because men cannot commit or don't want to commit in this hookup culture, right? And it's an excuse for them to play around and mess around willy-nilly. It means that for me, I need to be like the best currency as well. Like I think not looking committal is a currency as well in hookup, right? So then now they're thinking, okay, I should not show that I'm into him or so that he can come back or whatever. I can't go to him and say let's start a relationship,
Because then now you're like diminishing your currency. You're looking undesirable at that point.
So to keep it on control, I think what it is, because the narrative is that one always needs to be more in love than the other, and whoever has less feelings is the one in control.
Yeah.
Right? And honestly, I think like that's what it is, right? Where it's like, don't catch feelings, because if you don't catch feelings, it means that you're always in control of what is happening.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and again, it's a narrative, in my opinion.
He misses his mommy.
And he's sick. Okay, so wait. First of all, Dennis, why were you saying that a lot of bad things can happen, including catching feelings? Why is catching feelings a negative?
It's not necessarily a negative, right? But it has a lot of potential to be a negative. If we were to go to the numbers, like purely from the standpoint of...
Stop it, Dennis.
I can't help it. I can't help it. We have to go there. But here's the thing, right? If 50% of marriages end in divorce, that's the relationships that actually saw full term. Like, we actually decided at some point that we were going to live together. Half the time, those people were wrong. But let's take all the other relationships that you had in the process of getting to that, right? Let's say on average, that's 3 per person before you get married.
Right.
It means that that number is even greater. Meaning, you probably have your chances of being successful after you catch feelings are probably in and around like 10 to 15%. So, because this is such an
These are such cooked numbers.
But is that bad though?
No, these numbers aren't cooked though. But like,
Okay. So you getting it? I'm getting it. I don't get it.
let's stand it back. Let's actually go by the numbers, right?
Okay.
We're saying if you have 3 relationships and then get married, that's 4 relationships in total. Of the 4 relationships that you had in total, only 1 made it through. And of that 1, 50% of the time you were wrong.
But
that's a 1 in 8 chance which is where I was getting the 10 to 15%. It falls somewhere in there. I'm not sure where exactly.
On an 8. But like, do you know they attribute 79% of failed marriages, right, to first-time relationships?
Yeah, you go.
There you go.
Where your numbers now? Where your numbers now?
Sorry,
Where your numbers at?
Catch that.
Calculator.
But anyway, the overall point I was making, regardless of what the specific number is, is that you're essentially doing something that's illogical. And I think it's something that we should all be trying to do, all be trying to pursue, but it's not a very logical thing that we're trying to pursue.
Catching feelings is illogical.
Yes, don't do that. Well, I mean, do it, right? But like, be careful.
But to me, that doesn't make sense because then it's like, well, if we're going by your numbers, Dennis, aren't you then making it like a 1 in 16 chance or like a 1 in 24 chance? Because now you've been through like 16 semi-relationships. Because also, just because you say I'm not catching feelings doesn't mean you're not catching feelings.
No, but if you guys avoided the hookup culture, right, and you just did courtship the way that your parents told you to do it, then you wouldn't be in these problems. Do you get what I mean?
So Teach, so TJ spoke about like being in the club, and then a guy passes an eye at you, and you look back and you're like, "Oh, cute!" Right? You know you can catch feelings from just that.
Grow up.
And the other problem with Dennis's numbers is like it's as if it's like
There's nothing wrong with my
there is. It's because the problem is I got 12 points.
Wow.
I tried to
So
save Dennis.
even when you speak about probability, right? The numbers you're saying are as if every time you get into a relationship, it's diminished in terms of probability, which isn't the fact.
No.
Like it's 50-50 with everyone.
No.
Whether you're with 100 people or not, the probability of success within that relationship is still 50-50.
No, so
Let's stay on calling. That's like just my feelings.
I'm trying.
I took average numbers, right? So Arnold may have 8, I may have 2, and
Why
then
can't I have 2? And you have 8.
and then TJ will also have 2, right? So now we have 8 plus 2 plus 2 divided by 3, which will give us 4, which is how I landed at that number. I just wanted to explain that all my things are thought through.
It's okay. We accept. So there was also something else that Arnold said. Arnold said, let's discuss the whole phase. And I actually wanted to ask, is it true that everyone has to go through a whole phase?
That's absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
Why so?
Like, the whole phase for what?
Yeah.
To gain experience so that you're not curious within marriage, so that you're not doing shakara within marriage, so that you...
Bro, why?
So then you're properly married.
So that you're bringing your best moves
away all
into
the
marriage. My tried and tested
Go
methods.
into whole phase and still do shakara in marriage.
That's true. That's true.
But what are you saying is nonsense too? Because I'm thinking you're saying the whole phase should not completely be there.
Yeah.
Or are you saying not everyone should go through it?
No, I just think the whole thing started becoming a thing in recent years when it became popular in especially Western media, when people were talking about it, that I'm going through a whole phase, which is give me a pass to go to do all this nonsense.
Right.
And then I decide that was just a phase. I'm actually a dope person. I agree with Dennis. People should be judged for that.
So I have a question
should be
on
judged.
that, right? So you said it was recent, right? But it has always been there.
Yeah.
So is it the publicizing of it that's the issue? Because it's always been there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was always.
people-
I don't know. It has. No.
So.
Guys, people have been in these streets though. Like,
No, but like there was a
shame for it.
minority. And
go
it
do
was
that.
No, it wasn't. I agree with me because it's not that it was a minority. It just wasn't spoken about openly
Yeah,
because
but
it was shunned.
there.
Right?
Bro, there were no people doing whole phases.
Bro, speak to your folks, bro. I'm telling you. They'll
That's
tell
the
you
worst.
stories.
Oh, they'll
Have
be
you
like
never heard
three.
of
Now it's
situations
like 3 and 5.
where like Murora and Teshara
Yes.
and the baby comes
Yeah,
out
but
and
that's not a whole phase.
That's just
So
a
why? So why? That's just a whole.
That's just
So what I was gonna say is that I think it's like whole face specifically. I think it comes down to your character.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's some people where like you'll be curious and like you're trying to figure shit out. Or you're trying to figure yourself out. And then there's other people who just kind of grow up like sure in themselves and they know what they want. And so it's yeah. Like I think it comes down to you.
Yeah, but
Right.
but whole phase is not just about being curious. Whole phase comes through
Agreed.
someone just breaks your heart and you figure you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna go on a whole phase.
You
Right?
know,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna screw everything that moves,
is
and
what
I'm gonna
it
have the
is.
time of my life.
Yeah, but again,
And
that's up to
sometimes
you,
it's
right?
just, yo, I'm just.
Because on the other side of it, you can have your heart broken and just choose to be like, you know what, that was really shit. But I don't want someone else to go through that.
Exactly.
So I'm just
Go
going
do
to keep
press-ups or
trying to do the right thing.
Go do press ups.
Honestly, right? Like it's like I'm saying, like it comes down
Yeah.
to the person.
I think the whole phase is just people having an excuse to be wild, man.
I think so.
And it's not a
too.
phase, it's who you are.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
who you are.
exactly.
Well, I don't know. I had a little bit of first. But so like my question now is what happens when you're no longer in your prime? Right. So like say as women, I would say like sub 30 is what people consider women's prime. And then that's my piss now. Then you would
Attacks.
but like I would say like sub 30. I would say like, you know, broke for a guy, like you're not in your prime. You know what I mean? And I think,
So
and the
Say
question
I'm
is,
not in my prime.
no, you know, you get.
Can we say 40?
But
Let's
like,
bump it up to
okay,
40.
okay, my under 70. But like, what happens when you're not in your prime and you're perhaps looking to settle down, and now your options? Well, no. The question is, are your options limited depending on how you behaved during your whole phase?
Without a question.
I
Is
don't
it really?
think so.
no.
Is it dependent on like male or female? Because I think that they're limited maybe from like a female perspective, but not as much from like a male perspective.
Listen, naturally, age limits women's dating pool.
Okay.
Right? The older you grow, the less.
Okay, that's fair. But like, it's, let's say we take it away from age. Like, if it's just about your behavior during your whole phase when you're now trying to settle down, do you think that has an impact?
I think a question I had was, let's say I'm going through a whole phase. Who's gonna tell people that I'm going through a whole phase? I think that's another question I
People
had,
that you're
right?
participating in.
True.
Because like
Sure.
the next person I'm gonna meet might not always know, right? That she used to be in the streets.
True.
Sometimes.
So I'll give you a very great example. So there was a time when I'm hanging out with Dennis.
Right.
True story. Right.
Dennis is shaking his boots. He's like, where is this going?
So I'm hanging out with Dennis like a lot. We're spending a lot of time together. Right. Then there's this amazing girl. I've always thought she was amazing. Right. I'm like, Dennis, who's that? Right. It's like, oh, that's XYZ. Right. I'm like, what's the 411 with XYZ?
Shout out XYZ.
Then Dennis
I cannot
took
believe
time to tell me that XYZ has been with ABC.
This is not a true story.
Let me tell you this for a fact. It's not that XYZ wasn't a great person, but the attraction certainly diminished on my part.
Okay, I did
Right?
say that.
There's nothing wrong with that you've been with A to X, right? But just in my world, she then became less attractive. So there is something to be said about that. That you become less attractive to certain people because of who the amount of people you
And I don't think it's even up to the
if-
amount of people, because like what you were saying, who's gonna know, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's like if I just hear a certain name, because like
Yeah.
I think it's more
It can
about
be
the
the
like
name, yeah.
because like probably when you're in your whole phase, you're like, let me do it with the people that I wouldn't consider as like husband material.
Right.
So I got
Right.
then the gender
streets.
because I'm like that's not where my husband is.
Shout out Tash's host. Shout out Tash's host.
Then when I get to my husband or the person that I would consider to be my husband, and then Ozwana Dennis Kuti, no, but Tasha A-B. What Tasha B? No ways. And like just the fact that you were with that person makes you look more like unattractive.
So I think
it was an example.
I need to make a point at some point, right?
Yeah.
No.
Number two, true story.
It was an example.
Not a secret yet, Dennis.
Bro, that's not why I woke up this morning. I'd just like to say, I don't think whether you've been with other people should affect how attractive someone is to you.
Great.
I think
It does actually.
no, fair enough.
Should.
I'm just saying I don't
yeah.
think it should. I think people's past are in their past, and because of that, it shouldn't matter.
I mean, that's
So I
all
needed to
fair and
sanitize
fine, but
that
I
thing
also
that
1 point added.
because I was about to go on my rant about it's easy to want to say the right thing.
Yeah.
It's easy to be politically correct.
Yeah.
Should it be that way? No, but cap.
Yeah.
Because I'm very sure that
For
it
Arnold.
matters for Dennis.
No. I'm cool, bro.
I'm pretty sure for everyone.
It
And then
matters.
that's when we end up saying, me, I prefer quiet girls. Me, I prefer girls with good change. It's just
Those are
because
the
you're like,
ones.
they're
Those
real
items are the
Those are like
ones.
really the probability of them being with B are low.
TJ, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Right? In the context of what
Church
you
girls?
Yeah, we're about to go church
Yeah.
girls, right?
Yeah.
So the reason why the ordinary like hookup culture person person going through the whole phase that we're describing right now,
Right.
one of the reasons why you may not want to be with that person is that people know. Like it's about the fact that Janice is
know.
going to be
Yeah.
saying
Right.
that your girl's been with so and so.
Right.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe
Right.
that if you're a church girl
Yeah.
who's had 3,000 people that no one knows about,
Yeah.
you're still better off than 10 people that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the
No,
names.
yeah.
So,
yeah,
So what I was gonna say is
It's
like,
the quality, not
It's
the
the
quantity.
quality of it.
yeah. But again, like the caveat is that if that is public knowledge,
Yeah.
right? That is the only thing
know
that makes
what?
it a difference. Because like I know of people on both sides, male and female, right, who are like in the depths of the streets. But for example, they streeted in the UK, right?
Yeah.
And then they came back home,
And-
got a job, and then settled down, and no one knows what their street life
Yeah.
was before, right? And then nothing I want to move ball.
Unanifuza pa Luton.
Again, shout out Tasha, those right. And the only thing that makes it bad is that it's known. But I think I Twitter whole space, yaki, I don't know, Jandidi, or whatever it is, Jandidi.
Yeah.
And for me, that honestly, that is the only one. Because even the church Adams, right, who be in the depths of the streets, if the ones are known, it's fine,
on,
Yeah.
right? But in the moment, it's like, but you know that Adam. Let me not name churches.
Look,
But anyway,
I-
that Adam from there, Antidiga.
We saw church telepathy.
Yeah.
So then why do we
I want to
encourage?
shout out all my church girls. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. See you.
He's plugging himself, bro.
Wait, but my question now is that why are we on this drive to encourage hookup culture to say yes, it's empowering if it has to be so secretive?
Because
So-
we're lying.
So, because I've been a proponent of it, right? I wouldn't say it's encouraging it, but maybe normalizing it, right? Because I'm also not standing on the raft saying, guys, go out into the streets and do whatever you want,
Yeah.
right? But it's saying, Kuti, if you choose to do that, that's also okay. And I don't think it should be a thing where you're forced into something because, like we've pointed out throughout this conversation, is that you're forced into monogamy and then you're having Sekuru's baby or Sekuru's having one Animrora or whatever it is, right? Because they were just told, Kuti, that's what you need to do. That not being within them and them wanting to do other things was not okay.
You find out Segura is more experienced.
Yeah.
But I agree
kind of
with
experience?
I agree with you.
Life experience.
That's why.
So I agree with you, right? And I was just thinking as you're talking, right? I don't think so. I've been an advocate today as well, but like I don't think it should be public, right? I think people should just go what they go through in life, and like it's none of your business, right? Like let me go through my whole phase. I don't need to publicize it. Ooh, I'm in my whole phase, so but let me do what I'm doing. Don't try to get into my business, like simple, right? Yeah.
Fair. I think here's gonna be such a problematic video for me. Okay, here's my perspective. I feel like if you're gonna participate in hookup culture, and by no means am I coming from a high horse, I feel like if you're gonna participate in hookup culture, there's kind of this new wave mentality that like if I decide that I'm gonna do XYZ that is empowering to me, everyone has to not only accept it but like cheer me on
Yeah,
as I
yeah.
do it. And it's like, well, no.
Yeah.
Because like if you're gonna decide that you're participating in hookup culture, I feel like you should also accept the consequences that come from it. And
Yeah.
some of those mean that people are gonna find you less attractive. Maybe those aren't the people that you should be looking at towards being in a relationship with, etc. Limit yourself to those people that are okay with whatever it is you did, XYZ. But this push for like everyone should accept
know.
that like
It's
I'm in
what I
hookup culture, we're all in hookup culture, and then
We're
like
doing
it shouldn't diminish me in the male gaze or whatever. Like that to me is unfair.
So I agree with that, because what I can add to that is to say, what I was just saying about not publicizing it, right? Because it's no ziva, right? And best believe, even if I was advocating, Digan was out in your whole face, I'll be loud and proud and tell everybody about it, right? You know, you know, because
But if we're so proud of it, but
We're not proud of it,
But
no.
you're saying it's a good thing.
we're not
we
saying
even say it's a
that.
good thing.
We're not
Wait,
saying that.
wait,
though.
It's empowering.
If it's empowering,
It is.
about
It
the
is.
people.
Yeah.
Do what you gotta do. Then, why is there a need for us to keep it?
Do you know
private?
what's
So
empowering?
let's correct this. Let's
A college
correct this.
degree.
Let's
Right?
correct our.
Which you
And
want to tell
and you don't-
everyone
and you don't
about.
hide that.
Exactly.
Let's
Proof points.
And you don't hide that.
You don't hide
Guys,
that.
let's correct
I
our
do.
narrative. Teach and I on the same
Yeah.
page here. We did not say it's good.
Yeah.
We did not say that it should be done. We're
Yeah.
saying it's empowering.
Yeah.
If it's
Because we make
empowering,
choice.
why do you have to hide
Futhi,
it?
Inimika, hookup culture has allowed me to say that on a day I'm feeling needy,
Inga.
I'll be like, hello,
Yeah.
without fear.
Yeah.
Get it?
Plus,
Pane kumirira
Eh,
first,
kuti
then
I'm
try.
exactly. I just could farmer must
Uchichaga,
when
uchienda.
up a corner, I want to go, guys. I'm available today.
Let's also examine.
But I mean, it's
Let's
fine, man.
also
It's fine.
examine the society where the hookup culture is coming from.
Yeah.
What has become of their society because of hookup culture?
Fair.
Like we are not exploring that at all.
Fair.
Because it's become like
hyper.
hypersexualized, and it's become
Single parent household.
single parent
Yeah.
household.
The family unit is wearing away. Like all of that.
And is that
It's being
really what
eroded.
we
Is that
want to
empowering?
encourage?
Yeah.
Guys, this has always been like that.
Guys,
It's what
or
I'm
maybe
saying.
because Zimbabwe,
I don't
you
think
got-
I could have given up.
maybe because Zimbabwe you should be fire. But these ones have been there. They've just been
Yes,
low key.
yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
we're not
I'm saying there were no hoes before. The hoes were there.
We're also saying
But
that
Rwanda.
it's like
Anti-Rwanda.
We need less.
Y'all are spreading, apparently.
It's a pandemic right now.
guys.
I agree with that, because it's not that they weren't there already. Like
Yeah.
there's always been single parent household.
Yeah.
There's always been people, hoeing a little bit, doing whatever it is that they want to do. But like what Dennis had said previously, because it was shunned and like shamed upon that people weren't doing it like what you're saying, they were doing it in secret.
Yeah.
But now if we're accepting that everyone is gonna be doing this, are we encouraging the type of society that we really want?
I agree. But like, I would love to think that. Do you know what Chinorambizwa? It's more
Yeah, it's
interesting,
more
right?
interesting.
So now that it's more acceptable, do you think there's more of it or less of it?
Way more.
No, hold on. I actually have a question. No, hold on. I have a question. Right. Is that, do you think that it is now considered to be more prevalent because of how information travels?
No, it's because you guys are doing it more, TJ.
No.
I don't have that shit to you guys.
No,
He's
but
not
hear
in
me out.
there.
Hear me out, right? I went to Pablo's like 2-3 weeks ago. I don't remember.
Right.
They have sex workers in the club,
That
like
you tweeted about that.
literally standing along the line.
Londonas used to have.
Yes,
Yes, but
not
you
in
had to go
Pablo's.
to Landanas.
Yeah, you have to go to Pablo's
You can go.
now.
No, but
No,
now
but
it's like
is it
you
like
can
every
go.
Can I have a
club?
safe
You can go.
space though?
Is
You
it
know what I
every
mean?
club?
Like,
Is it every club?
do I have to?
Because like someone
work
just
is real work,
guys,
Dennis.
someone
Yeah,
just
what are you
saying about
Dennis,
sex
But we don't.
Dennis,
We don't.
Dennis.
Come on,
We
Dennis.
don't allow vendors in
Dennis,
Pablo's. Why are we
Dennis.
allowing other vendors? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Dennis.
like come on, man. Like, you can't just sell whatever you want, wherever you want.
Sex workers did it.
Come on, man.
Dennis, someone just
Hashtag
changed
Bendy
it.
Gucci. That is a wild take.
Bro. Stop that. Stop that.
Stop it.
I'm just here selling beef, bro. Like,
Oh, God.
Okay, wait. So I think that let's round this up, okay? Because we're getting deeper. Papinda Mavinda. I don't know how to return. So I think the last question that I would want to ask, and I'll start with you, Arnold, and then Dennis, and we can go around.
How is it?
Okay, I'll start with TJ. Is there a way back from hookup culture? Or should there even be a way back from hookup culture?
So I don't think, in terms of where we are now, I don't think there's a way back because it's done, right? But what I think is maybe either having more positive messages around it or more controls in equal parts, right? So like Miri and I have been saying the whole time, right? It's saying that hookup culture is not saying that every time you go out, you have sex with that person. It's just giving you a choice to do so.
Yeah.
And if you do choose to engage, practice safe sex and so on and so on, right? Because I think the stigmatization of just saying it's bad then creates loops for a lot more, because argument's sake, it's your daughter and she's like, oh, I can't tell them that I'm dating. Or it does sneaky because she wants to do it anyway. And then she falls pregnant is a worse problem than her being able to be open and be like, yo, dad, listen, this is kind of where I'm at with it. What do you think? And I'm able to say, yo, okay, if you're going to do that, be safe. If you have anything wrong, defone it and so on.
Oh, so like it's acceptable as a culture because it's already happening, but there should be more safeguards to make it safer to participate. 100%. Okay, I get that. Dennis?
So whether it should or not is one thing, right? But if you're asking how we can make it stop, bring back shame. Like, shame people into not behaving. No, I'm not saying do it, right? I'm saying this is the theoretical conversation about how you could do it if you wanted to do it.
Right.
You have to shame people. People have to feel like this is a bad thing to do that we shouldn't be doing, and if you do it, people will look at you negatively.
Fair enough.
You don't have to do it.
Okay, and Miri, do you feel like there's a way back from hookup culture, or should there be?
So, in a sense, I almost think they should be, but it's neither here nor there, like what Dennis said. I agree with TJ to say that let's put in controls, right? To allow like safe sex, etc. When you do get to go out, I don't believe in the shaming thing, because when I was in high school, I saw quite a number of my friends get pregnant, so it was already there, right?
Were you guys shaming them?
It was a shameful period, right? Right? But it still happened. So I don't think shaming works, right? But I'd rather, one of those things where they say, okay, these things are happening, so might as well just put in controls for, that's what I think.
Fair. And then you, Arnold?
I think we haven't done enough to make the other side desirable. Like, we haven't done enough. We haven't done enough to put up the banner to say this is what it looks like if you wait, for example, if you're not just hooking up with everybody. This is the example of what keeping your relationship or being in a monogamous relationship is like. We haven't done enough of that. What we are doing instead is we're shining a light on everything else, and we're not shining a light on, like, yo, you can be in a monogamous relationship. You can actually commit. This is the joy that comes with that. This is how safe this feels. This is the guilt you don't have to live with. This is and all of that. I think when we focus on that and we raise that banner, there's something to aspire to. Because right now, there's not much to aspire to. So,
a word.
Yeah, a word. Word.
No, but for real though.
For real.
When you're not lying to people about the things I tell you, you're actually a pretty wise man.
It's past rehabilitation, Dennis. It's past.
It's done.
Okay, so from my perspective, I think I agree with what everyone is saying. From your thing, I think that there definitely should be safety for people who want to participate in it to participate. I'm not sure if it's encouraging the right things, societally speaking. I think everyone should have choice, but let's not encourage people towards a certain direction, which to me, I think is detrimental for society. And maybe the issue is that there hasn't been enough exposure into like the benefits of the other side. So I definitely agree with what everyone's saying, but I also think that if you're going to participate in hookup culture, like, be an adult to the utmost, like to the full extent. If you're going to want people to accept you for your decisions and what you're doing, be ready to accept the consequences and what people will view you as. It's not like, it's unfair. I can accept that. but also it is what it is. And with that, I'd like to say, first of all, thank you guys for coming through, and thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.
Ciao.
Can you guys switch off the cameras? I have some points to make.
They call me the Holy Ghost, Son of the Most, Father they don't